Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and I love giving my perspectives, opinions, thoughts, ideas, advice. And I appreciate that you take the time to listen to what it is that I happen to be sharing. But if I happen to say something that you disagree with, or maybe you just don't quite think that I'm saying it the way that it could be said, or explaining how to get around a particular problem or an issue or a situation, feel free to comment. It's okay to disagree, as long as we can have a healthy dialogue and go back and forth. You may teach me something different. I hesitate to say born. Well, yes, I was born. But I was always fairly comfortable with who I was. And it was probably easier, the younger I was, because there was less judgment from the outside, or any kind of judgment would have come from family. Or friends in a very close circle. And then, of course, as I got older and that circle expanded, maybe not exponentially, well, as a kid, exponentially, I realized that the judgment of others put me in a very challenging situation, because I could not square that. I could not understand how the way I was, and that was somewhat different in one way, shape, or form, was a detriment. That was a problem. And I've always marched to the beat of my own drum, in the sense that I've never really done a lot of mainstream things. When something's popular or big or everybody else is doing it, I probably wouldn't. And I'd always feel weird. And that's a word I've been called to, certainly more so in my younger years than in later years. But, never really accepting that which I was assumed to expect. And I always liked myself. I never had a problem with self-worth. I never had a problem with self-esteem. Now, I'm careful with the word or the term self-esteem. Charles Manson has great self-esteem. I'm not Charles Manson, thank goodness. It's this innate feeling that I am myself and that's okay. So I don't have an easy way of understanding how someone could not know who they are, because I know who I am. I have a very strong sense of self, extremely strong. To the point where very few people can shake me. Very few can shake me so hard that I would effectively crack, because I'm very confident in who it is that I am and the decisions that I make, because I arrive at these decisions through countless moments of reflection or consideration, or trying to understand how things work. Now, these skills that I've worked on and honed over the years have benefited me. I was an entrepreneur even if I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur. I fell into it, and I pushed and forged my own path. I'm very proud to say I did help, and I wasn't the only one, but I was one of the first quote-unquote creators out there doing something before that was a thing that you could be. I was doing it. Before, people were doing videos online, I was doing videos online. Before everyone was live streaming, I was live streaming. Before, people were influencing, I was influencing. I don't want to get into that word right now, because it's muddied and not really, what I care to talk about at the moment. Either way, I did it because it felt right. It felt reasonable. It felt comfortable for me. I didn't do it because everyone else was doing it. I was doing it. And so I feel very strongly about this, because if you don't know who you are, find out who you are. And I know I'm not trying to sound flippant or asinine. I'm being legitimately direct and honest with you, perhaps too brutal, in saying it as clearly as this. If you don't know who you are, take the time to find out who you are. And you're never going to know who you are if you keep burying yourself under things that aren't you. Know who you are. And I've seen a lot of people, out there, and they lament the fact that they are, let's say, single, right? And they're upset that they're single because they can't find anybody. I trust me, I understand how that goes. I think most of us might understand how that goes. But love yourself before you can even begin to love someone else. And in certain situations, you can see, even at a distance, when people who aren't confident in who they are, and they don't love themselves, and they don't know who they are, the worst thing they could ever do is get into a relationship with somebody else. Because if you can't love yourself, how do you expect someone else is going to love you? If you don't even know who you are, how do you expect somebody else to know who you are? Don't just, front with, the sheen of, something that you want to be. Don't fake it till you make it. Know who you are. Then and only then, I do believe you would be ready to be with somebody else. And if you're with someone now, and you don't know who you are, you owe it to them. You owe it to yourself, certainly, first and foremost, but you owe it to them to go through that process, because if you don't know who you are, you're never going to seek any level of, I'm not going to say happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment. And I keep going back to those words because happiness is not a destination, it's the journey, okay? And if you keep chasing something that you're never going to get, because you're not thinking about where it starts. It starts with you. It starts with your heart, your soul, your mind, everything that you are. Being confident in who you are, whoever you are. And not accepting somebody else's truth of who you are. And I'm not saying that they can see things that aren't there, in the sense that sometimes we learn more about ourselves when we are with somebody else. But certainly inside of any kind of dynamic, a relationship with another person, whatever type of relationship that is, and I don't just necessarily mean romantic. I mean, it certainly could be platonic or familial. So when you know who you are, then other people are going to know who you are. But if you don't know who you are, you're just trying on different things to see what fits and what works, and you're never going to get to that place where you need to be. No one's going to give that to you. No one's going to bring it to you. That's you. That's your responsibility. You can't blame somebody else for you not knowing who you are. You can't blame somebody else for you not being confident in who you are. You can't blame somebody else for you not having self this, that, or the other thing. That's not their responsibility. It's self, right? It's called self-determination, not them-determination. It's called self-control, not them-control. It's called self-confidence, not them-confidence. Do you understand? So again, it's the entire concept of not knowing who I am, or how I could ever see someone as not being able to see themselves, or not valuing that necessarily, to chase it down with like an immediacy. I can't fathom. I can't fathom it. And this is the reason why it's difficult for me to not see anything apart from a goal. I'm able to get to that goal because my resolve is strengthened by the challenges that beset me. So that comes because of that my belief in who I am. Am I a perfect person? Absolutely not. It's not about believing that you're the best person out there. It's not about arrogance. It's about just knowing who you are. Because that's how you're going to be able to find the things that you're trying to find in life, and be with other people in a way that is healthy and sustainable and constructive. And I've just seen so much that could have been course corrected if people just took time to figure out who they are. I've been called weird. I am. I'm not typical in any way. I'm not a stereotypical male. I hate sports. My favorite music artist of all time, Weird Al Yankovic. But I have a very eclectic taste in music, from They Might Be Giants to Flim and the BBs. Like it runs the gamut. I've done tech videos, but I'm not a gadget lover. I'm me. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I don't need you to like me for me to like me.